In today's video, we have a really big update on Cody Rhodes. I said I was going to wait until he returns, but now it seems like there's more companies in play trying to bring in Cody. We're going to talk about it in today's video. Also, in addition to that, MMA star, UFC star going to WWE once his career is over. Possibly, we're going to talk about it. Why do I want to talk about it? Because AEW is signing Paige Van Zant. Very interesting signing. Also, guys, we got to talk about Shane Strickland. New trademarks for Shane Strickland. Just giving us some clarification on his name. I'm going to tell you guys what plans AEW may very well have for him. If you guys want more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe for more. Let's talk about Colby Covington. He just beat Jorge Masvidal at UFC 272 pretty damn decisively. All 5 rounds, pretty much controlled the entire thing. I think for 25 minutes for 5 rounds, he controlled almost 17 minutes of the fight. Now, if you don't watch MMA, if you don't watch UFC, you might not understand exactly what is being talked about here, but Colby Covington is the guy who has a hard time beating Kamaru Usman, but he, for some reason, beats everybody else in the welterweight division. And it's very possible that his UFC career could very well end, within a year or two. A lot of people are predicting he doesn't have that much time left, just like Jorge Masvidal. Now, if you don't watch UFC, if you don't watch any sort of MMA, Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington used to be part of American Top Team. So how is this relevant to wrestling? Well, Paige Van Zant, Dan Lambert, this whole storyline where we have the MMA crew coming into AEW, they were all part of American Top Team. This is how we actually got Jorge Masvidal on AEW television. Colby Covington, however, in an interview with Sports Illustrated, recently revealed that he would like to actually go to WWE once his UFC career is over. In fact, he even specifically says, "I'd love to cross over and come into the WWE, but I love being a UFC fighter. I love fighting. It's my passion. It's what I was born and put on this earth to do. After my career with the UFC is done, WWE is something I'd love to dabble in." He also goes on to praise Ronda Rousey, which is something that he's talked about before. Colby Covington in the past has also been very open about joining WWE. He also wasn't too positive about AEW. And I think Colby Covington understands in terms of mainstream attention, mainstream appeal, being a crossover star. I think he would obviously favor going to WWE. I'm not saying that as a way to be negative towards AEW, but we have seen Cain Velasquez, we saw Ronda Rousey go to WWE, and there was a lot of mainstream attention picked up on that story. Yes, there was a little bit more attention also on Jorge Masvidal going to AEW, but as far as Paige Van Zant goes, there's really not that much that's out there. I think it's really tough to compare the two because I think personally, just as a fan of MMA and a fan of wrestling, I think they need to clash. I think both sides need to come together. Colby going to WWE would be great. I also fully anticipate Jorge Masvidal's UFC career to come to an end soon. I think perhaps maybe the only fight he has left is Conor McGregor. So if I'm AEW, I would try to bring in Jorge Masvidal. I know that was something that was talked about previously in the past. Colby going to WWE, Jorge going to AEW could be really cool. I like MMA a lot. I think UFC is some good stuff. Combat sports are cool, and I think it adds a little bit of legitimacy when somebody comes to pro wrestling and makes it entertaining. Colby Covington is not, I don't think he's got the gimmick. I don't think he's got the charisma, the talking skills, the promo skills to actually be good in pro wrestling. But with pro wrestling, we have managers and stuff like that. Colby will probably tell you otherwise. He has a very interesting gimmick that's going on, and I think he's great. But it's clear that his whole shtick is posting videos on Instagram with 2 girls that he's allegedly, reportedly paying for to show up on his thing. It's just whatever. But yeah, let's see what happens. I like Colby Covington. I think he could be really good in pro wrestling, just like I think Jorge Masvidal as well. I want to talk about Shane Strickland. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but a lot of people were curious as to what the hell they were going to do with Shane Strickland in AEW. Well, first we need to know that Shane Strickland has applied for some new trademarks. Swerve has been trademarked, Swerve Shane Strickland, as well as Swerve Strickland. The belief is that AEW will refer to Shane Strickland as Swerve or Swerve Strickland going forward on AEW television. There's also rumors floating around that that Shane Strickland, Swerve, it's going to become a tongue twister at this point. But there's rumors at this point that Shane Strickland is very well going to be in the bunch for the TNT Championship belt, which I think is a very smart idea. That belt is just as good as the World Championship. Shane Strickland, I think he's going to have a really good career in AEW. I really do believe that. I think he's talented. I think he's entertaining. And I like the way he presented himself at Revolution. It just felt like a big deal. It wasn't something that AEW was actively promoting, so when it happened, it just seemed natural. It seemed good. Also, just keep in mind, with him having this trademark, he's going to continue to do the indie wrestling stuff too. AEW doesn't take ownership of him, and it just goes to show you that AEW gives their wrestlers the freedom, whereas WWE doesn't. And, the best way I like to compare both companies, because I think this is just, so incredibly important. WWE is looking for wrestlers to turn into superstars, and AEW is looking for wrestlers to turn into professional wrestlers, the highest, the best of the best of pro wrestling. And I think Shane Strickland is up there. I think he's one of the best pro wrestlers. Also, too, I think he is really good at the entertainment side, which is, kind of funny because a lot of people in AEW's audience, they tend to hate the sports entertainment aspect of the business. But I think Swerve is one of those guys who I think he'll bring some of that WWE-ness with him to AEW. Nonetheless, I have high hopes for him. TNT Championship is something I would love to see around his waist. Plus, you got Keith Lee. There's a lot of people in AEW's TNT Championship division right now that, like, any one of them could be a champion. Ricky Starks. But that right there just means that we get some really freaking good matches, and that's something I am looking forward to seeing. Guys, one final update on Cody Rhodes. I think the announcement will be pretty soon, but Meltzer was talking about it on the message boards. He just offering some clarifications. The negotiations with WWE reportedly did hit a snag. He says negotiations hit a snag. He has multiple offers. He has to make a decision. WWE wants the decision made soon for obvious reasons. The ball is in Cody's court. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because Cody is actively promoting the new Cody Rhodes toys, the lineup of toys that are being released from AEW. But also just kind of keep in mind with Cody Rhodes right now, as it stands, he has not made a decision. Now, there aren't really that many companies that can even afford Cody Rhodes. I think if we're being honest, WWE, New Japan, AAA, and AEW are probably the four companies that could really make this work. I think Anthem and Impact Wrestling do have a lot of money. Obviously, a lot of people don't realize Anthem is worth like billions of dollars. It's a $1 billion company. They could probably bring in Cody Rhodes, but for Impact Wrestling as a company itself, it probably doesn't make sense financially. New Japan, I can't really see why they would sign Cody Rhodes or why Cody would go to Japan. It just doesn't make sense now that he's a father and stuff like that. So I think AEW, WWE are the two that make sense. Obviously, there's a lot of people going back and forth on this. What I've noticed more recently too is a lot of people are starting to hate on Cody Rhodes because of this. So if Cody Rhodes goes to AEW, it's the coolest thing because AEW pulled off this amazing work. If Cody Rhodes goes to WWE, the internet wrestling community believes, screw Cody Rhodes, he sucks, he's not good. It's really weird thinking, but that's what I'm noticing in the comment section and the response. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. At this point, I've been talking about it for a while. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, it's the match to make sense. Now, as we're watching Raw, it sounds like Seth Rollins doesn't have a match for WrestleMania. I think it's time for WWE to bring in Cody Rhodes, give him the offer he's looking for, give him the money he's looking for, give him the job that he's looking for, put him against Seth Rollins, put him over against Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins could turn babyface after WrestleMania, and let's do this shit the right way. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.